Olivia Miller, at 29, sat in her old sedan, looking at her parents' large colonial home. The driveway was filled with luxury cars, including her sister Beth's new SUV and what had to be her fiancé Mark's sports car. A knot tightened in Olivia's stomach. She knew they would likely criticize her car, her clothes, and her life choices that evening. But what they didn't know was that she was worth more than everyone at that table combined. Taking a deep breath, Olivia stepped out, ready for the evening's performance. She parked her car far down the circular driveway, hoping it would go unnoticed next to the gleaming luxury vehicles. As she walked toward the house, memories of growing up in this upper-middle-class neighborhood came back. Her parents, Sarah and Robert Miller, hadn't always been so focused on status. Her dad, a financial advisor, had modest success until he gained several wealthy clients 15 years ago. Then, everything changed. They moved to this bigger house, joined the country club, and appearances became the family's main concern. Her sister Beth, 2 years younger, fit into their new lifestyle perfectly. Beth was naturally beautiful, tall, blonde, and graceful. Olivia, however, took after her grandmother, with unruly brown hair and a practical mind. Beth became the golden child, easily navigating social situations, always knowing the right thing to wear and say. Olivia was different. She was more interested in taking apart her computer to understand it than in shopping for designer clothes. Her mother would often express her frustration, asking Olivia why she couldn't try to fit in more, especially when Olivia showed up to country club events in simple dresses while Beth shone in the latest fashion. Despite their concerns about Olivia's different interests, her parents did provide both daughters with excellent education. Olivia attended a top university, studying business and computer science, while Beth went to another for communications. Their paths, however, diverged greatly after college. Beth pursued a career in public relations, working with luxury brands and building a perfect online life. Olivia, meanwhile, spent her time coding, developing a software solution for supply chain management that began as a side project. She remembered trying to explain it to her family at dinner 3 years ago. Her father had simply asked if she just typed on a computer all day, and before she could fully explain her predictive algorithm for companies, her mother interrupted, proudly stating that Beth had just been hired to handle PR for a famous jewelry designer. Her explanation was effectively cut short. What her family never knew was that Olivia's computer thing had already attracted serious venture capital. She had formed her company, Secure Flow Technologies, and was already managing a team of 15 developers. She chose to keep her growing success private for several reasons. She wasn't sure it would last. She didn't want her family's dynamic to change, and she was tired of always having to prove her worth to them. While Beth moved into a luxury high-rise apartment in the city that her parents helped furnish, Olivia stayed in her modest 2-bedroom in Brooklyn. She drove her reliable car even after she could afford any car she wanted. She lived comfortably but simply, investing most of her earnings back into her company and various charities she believed in. Family gatherings became increasingly difficult. Last Christmas, Beth had brought her then-boyfriend, a Wall Street type who didn't last, and spent the entire evening talking about their weekend in Paris. Beth had then suggested, with a pitying look Olivia had come to hate, that Olivia should really let her introduce her to some of Mark's friends, saying, "They're all doing so well. You need someone who can take care of you." Olivia had nearly choked on her wine, considering she had just closed a round of funding valuing her company at over $300 million, but she merely smiled and said, "Maybe someday." Now, standing at the imposing front door of her parents' house, she took a deep breath. Through the window, she could see Beth gesturing animatedly, a massive diamond glinting on her left hand. Beside her sat a man Olivia assumed was Mark, tall, conventionally handsome, with the confident posture of someone who'd never had to doubt his place in the world. Olivia smoothed down her simple blue dress, quality material, but nothing flashy, and pressed the doorbell. It was time to play her role again, Olivia, the underachieving daughter who couldn't quite get her life together. If only they knew she was flying to Singapore next week to open their Asia-Pacific headquarters. Her mother opened the door, exclaiming, "Olivia, you're finally here," and air-kissed both her cheeks. Her mother, wearing a new designer dress with freshly highlighted blonde hair, quickly assessed Olivia's appearance, and Olivia could see the slight disappointment. "Everyone's in the living room. Come meet Mark." Olivia followed her through the foyer, past the grand staircase into the formal living room where her father was pouring drinks at the built-in bar. Beth immediately jumped up from the leather sofa. Beth announced to Olivia, "Meet my fiancé, Mark Harrington," emphasizing his last name as if Olivia should recognize it. To be fair, Olivia did. Harrington Capital was a well-established investment firm. Mark stood and extended his hand. He was taller than she expected, with kind eyes that didn't match the stereotype she'd built in her head. He said with genuine warmth that it was great to finally meet her, adding that Beth talked about her all the time. Olivia replied with a small smile, wondering what exactly Beth had told him. Her father asked if she wanted whiskey, already pouring himself a second glass, but Olivia requested white wine. Beth immediately flashed her hand in Olivia's direction, asking, "Did you see it? 6 carats, cushion cut, platinum band." The diamond on her finger was indeed spectacular, ostentatious, but beautiful. Olivia sincerely congratulated them both, remarking that it was gorgeous. Despite their differences, she truly wanted her sister to be happy. Her mother then chimed in, mentioning Mark's family's summer home in the Hamptons, right next to the Smiths, asking if Olivia remembered them. Her father intervened, handing Olivia her wine, saying, "Dear." Her mother then recalled that Olivia hadn't come to that fundraiser, stating, "Oh, that's right. You were busy with what was it again? Your computer job." Her mother's voice had that particular tone that managed to make any career sound insignificant. Olivia vaguely replied, something like that, taking a sip of wine. Mark turned toward her, asking what she did in tech. Before Olivia could answer, Beth interjected, explaining that Olivia does something with computers, adding, "Nothing as interesting as managing family portfolios like you, honey," while squeezing his arm affectionately. Mark countered that he found tech fascinating, noting that his firm had been investing heavily in software solutions lately. Olivia was about to respond when her mother announced dinner was ready. They moved to the formal dining room where the table was set with fine china and crystal glasses. Olivia noticed the candles, the fresh flower arrangement, the carefully folded napkins. Her mother always had an eye for presentation. As they took their seats, with Mark and Beth on one side, Olivia on the other, and her parents at the ends, her father began discussing their recent home renovations. He described their newly finished master bath with Italian marble, heated floors, and a rainfall shower system, which Mark politely acknowledged as impressive. Beth then interjected with a laugh, saying Olivia's apartment was so quaint in that gentrifying area of Brooklyn, asking, "Right, Kate?" Olivia simply stated that it suited her needs. Her mother then began serving the salad, asking if Olivia was still at that same job, the startup thing. Olivia confirmed they were expanding, but Beth interrupted, announcing that Mark had just made partner, the youngest in the firm's history. Olivia congratulated Mark, who looked slightly embarrassed, but thanked her, noting it had been a lot of work but rewarding. He turned to Olivia again, asking what her company did exactly. Again, before she could properly answer, her father jumped in, reminiscing about seeing the funniest thing on the way to the club yesterday, a car just like Olivia's, that old car with a bumper literally held on with duct tape. He laughed heartily, telling his wife he was thankful Olivia's car wasn't quite that bad yet. Her mother smiled indulgently, telling Richard to stop, but then seriously asked Olivia when she was going to upgrade her car, speculating it must have over 100,000 miles. Olivia calmly replied, about 150,000, actually. But it runs perfectly, as she cut her salad into smaller pieces. Her father offered to help her look at options, suggesting a lease for something affordable but a bit more appropriate. Olivia firmly stated, my car is fine, Dad. Really? Mark, perhaps sensing Olivia's discomfort, steered the conversation elsewhere, remarking on the excellent wine. Olivia took a sip and nodded in agreement, identifying it as a 2015, a good year. Mark looked at her with slight surprise, noting her knowledge of wines. Olivia dismissed it as just a hobby with a small shrug. Her mother explained that Olivia went through a phase in college where she thought she might want to be a sommelier, as if discussing a child's fleeting interest in becoming an astronaut. Mark commented that it was a challenging profession, requiring a sophisticated palate. Her father quickly added that thankfully Olivia had focused on more practical pursuits, though he still didn't quite understand what her company actually produced. Olivia started to explain that they developed supply chain management software, but Beth interrupted yet again to announce their decision for a June wedding at the Harrington estate, adding that she needed to go dress shopping soon, thinking Vera Wang or Ellie Saab. Just like that, the conversation returned to Beth's world. Olivia noticed Mark glancing at her apologetically, but she had grown used to this dynamic. The meal progressed, her mother serving her signature beef tenderloin with roasted vegetables. When Olivia mentioned she would be traveling next week, no one asked where or why. Beth, upon hearing Olivia decline a second glass of wine because she had an early meeting, remarked with a laugh that some of us work for real money, not just to fund backpacking trips. Olivia bit her tongue, reminding herself that in her company's last valuation, her personal net worth exceeded $2 billion, a fact no one at this table would believe. The dinner continued as her mother cleared the main course dishes, refusing Olivia's offer to help, telling her, just sit, Olivia. You always put things back in the wrong places. Her father then refilled his and Mark's whiskey glasses, asking Mark about his recent deal with Westmore Industries, calling it impressive work due to their notorious difficulty. Mark nodded modestly, stating it was a team effort, but they were very pleased. Her father then contrasted this with real business versus these internet startups, gesturing toward Olivia, emphasizing tangible results, established relationships, actual profits. Olivia took a slow, deliberate sip of water. Her company had been profitable for over 2 years, a rarity in the tech world where growth often took precedence over immediate returns, but her father wouldn't know that because he'd never bothered to ask. Her mother chimed in about profits as she returned with creme brulee for each of them, asking Mark if he had just gotten that beautiful new sports car she saw in the driveway. Mark admitted the 911 Turbo was a bit indulgent, but her father boomed, nonsense. You work hard. You deserve to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Not everyone understands the value of quality, giving Olivia a pointed look. He then suggested that Mark could give Olivia some financial advice sometime to help her get on track for a more comfortable future. The irony was almost painful. Mark's firm's investment division had actually approached Olivia about managing some of her assets just last month, though Mark himself wouldn't have known that. Olivia quietly stated, "That's very kind, but I'm doing fine." Beth snorted delicately, telling Olivia, "Fine, Kate? You live in a tiny apartment, drive a car older than some of my shoes, and wear the same 3 outfits to every family function. You could use some help." Olivia's voice tightened as she replied, "Not everyone values the same things, Beth." Beth countered, "True, but some things are objectively better, like not having to check your bank account before making a purchase." Olivia almost revealed she didn't, but her mother interrupted, condescendingly patting Olivia's hand, saying, "You know, we just want what's best for you. You could be so pretty if you put in a little effort. Maybe a nice haircut, some designer pieces." Olivia tried to protest, But her mother continued as if she hadn't spoken, suggesting it wouldn't hurt to meet some of Mark's colleagues, successful men who could take care of you. Heat rose to Olivia's cheeks as she insisted, "I can take care of myself." Her father, in his patronizing tone, said, "Of course you can, sweetie, but wouldn't it be nice not to have to have some security?" Olivia insisted she had security, but Beth scoffed, "A startup is hardly security. Those things fold all the time." Mark, who had been observing this exchange with increasing discomfort, finally spoke up, asking Olivia what her company was called, wondering if he might be familiar with it. Before Olivia could answer, Beth laughed, saying, "It's something techy and boring. Nothing you would have heard of, honey." Olivia noticed Mark frown slightly at Beth's dismissal, but he didn't challenge her. Her mother, clearly wanting to move past the topic, said they were thinking of renovating the guest house next, turning it into a proper pool house with a full kitchen and bar for summer entertaining. Beth responded enthusiastically, calling it lovely and perfect for pre-wedding festivities. Her father then turned to Olivia, asking if she had any trips planned besides her business trip, saying the latter term as if it were a euphemism for something less legitimate. Olivia confirmed she would be in Singapore next week. Beth interrupted, her perfectly arched eyebrows rising, asking what on earth for? Olivia simply said work, not wanting to explain that she was opening their Asia-Pacific headquarters and meeting with potential investors. Her mother hummed skeptically, remarking it sounded expensive for a small company. Olivia explained it was necessary for our expansion, trying to keep the irritation from her voice. Her father then began, in what he clearly thought was a generous offer, that he could lend her some miles from his business account if she needed help with the airfare. Olivia nearly choked on her dessert, knowing the private jet she'd been using for the past year cost more per hour than most people's monthly salary. She stated, "That's not necessary, Dad. The company covers travel expenses." Beth smirked, saying, "Must be nice. My company only pays for business class, but then again, we're an established firm with actual revenue to consider." Mark looked increasingly uncomfortable with the conversation's direction, saying he was sure Olivia's company had a solid business model if they were expanding internationally. Beth laughed, patting his arm, saying, "Oh, Mark, you're so sweet to be encouraging, but Kate's always been the dreamer of the family. Remember that pottery phase in high school? She thought she'd open a studio." Her mother added with a chuckle, and there was the photography summer, all those strange close-ups of rust and peeling paint. Olivia muttered, "I was 16. Her father then continued, stating, "The point is, some people are built for success in the real world, and others, well, they find their own path." He raised his glass toward Beth and Mark, proposing a toast to the power couple and their bright future. Everyone raised their glasses except Olivia. She was fighting back tears of frustration and anger. Beth urged, "Come on, Kate. Don't be a poor sport just because you're the poor relation." She laughed at her own joke, and her parents joined in. That's when Olivia decided she'd had enough. She placed her napkin on the table and began to push back her chair. Her mother scolded, "Olivia, don't be so sensitive." Beth was just joking. Olivia quietly said, "Some jokes aren't funny." The silence that followed Mark's next question was absolute. "Wait, Olivia Miller, didn't I see your jet in St. Bart's last month?" Olivia's fork hovered midway to her mouth. Her mother's hand froze while reaching for her wine glass. Her father's perpetual smile faltered, and Beth's expression shifted from smugness to confusion. Beth finally asked Mark, "What did you say?" Mark looked directly at Olivia, his expression difficult to read. He confirmed that he thought he'd recognized her boarding a private jet in St. Bart's about 3 weeks ago, adding it was a Gulfstream G650, if he wasn't mistaken. All eyes turned to Olivia. She felt a strange mix of emotions, the relief of potentially being discovered, the anxiety of having her carefully constructed separation of worlds collapse, and an undeniable spark of satisfaction at the thought of finally being seen by her family. Her mother, with a nervous laugh, said Olivia must be mistaken, as Olivia didn't travel on private jets. Actually, Olivia said slowly, placing her fork down, I was in St. Bart's last month for the Global Tech Summit. Her father asked, incredulously, if she was on a private jet. Olivia took a deep breath. For years, she had kept her success separate from her family life. She never lied about her company, she just didn't volunteer information, and they never asked meaningful questions. Part of her wanted to prove she could succeed without their support or validation. Another part feared that once they knew about her wealth, their relationship would become even more superficial than it already was. Yes, she finally admitted, on a private jet. Beth laughed, but it sounded forced, telling Olivia to stop joking, as there was no way she had access to a private jet. Mark thoughtfully corrected Beth, saying it wasn't about access. He stated that the tail number was registered to Secure Flow Technologies, then looked at Olivia with new interest, confirming, "That's your company, isn't it?" Olivia nodded slowly. Her father's voice was a mixture of disbelief and dawning realization as he asked, "You own a jet?" Olivia clarified that the company did, for international business. Her mother sputtered, but you drive that old car. You live in that tiny apartment in Brooklyn." Olivia simply stated, "By choice." Mark, leaning forward with genuine interest, then asked what her company did exactly. For once, no one interrupted her as she began to explain. Olivia explained that they developed a blockchain-based supply chain management system that allowed companies to track products from raw materials to consumer delivery with unprecedented security and efficiency. She added that they started with pharmaceuticals, ensuring medications weren't counterfeit or compromised in transit, and expanded from there. Mark's eyes widened. He exclaimed, "You're that Secure Flow? The one that just signed the contract with the European Union for vaccine distribution tracking?" Olivia nodded again. Mark began to trail off, seemingly doing mental calculations, asking, "But that company is worth?" Olivia quietly supplied, "Our last valuation was $4.7 billion. Her mother's wine glass slipped from her fingers, spilling red liquid across the white tablecloth. No one moved to clean it up. Beth's voice rose in disbelief, saying, That's impossible. You would have told us if you were some tech millionaire." Mark automatically corrected her, "Billionaire," actually, then looked apologetic. Her father echoed, "Billionaire," his face pale. A strange calm settled over Olivia. She told them she had never lied to any of them. She had said she founded a tech company focused on supply chain security and that they were doing well. She emphasized that no one ever asked for details. Her mother seemed unable to finish her sentence, saying, "But you let us think, you let us believe." Olivia replied that they believed what they wanted to believe. That she was struggling, that her work wasn't valuable, that she needed their help and guidance. She added that it was easier than trying to explain something they had already decided wasn't worth understanding. Her father, his shock turning to indignation, demanded to know why she wouldn't tell them about this kind of success, saying, "We're your family." Olivia quietly asked, "Are we though?" She pointed out that tonight, like most nights she spent there, she had been mocked, dismissed, and pitted against Beth. They had laughed at her car, criticized her apartment, suggested she needed financial help, and literally called her the poor relation. She asked if they would have treated her differently if they had known about her money, stating, "Because that's exactly why I didn't tell you." Beth's face had gone from confusion to anger. She accused Olivia of lying to them for years, pretending to be some struggling startup girl, while secretly judging them from her moral high ground. Olivia countered that she hadn't been pretending anything. She lived the way she chose to live. She drove a car that worked perfectly well, lived in an apartment that met her needs, and didn't equate expensive things with personal worth. She stated, that's your metric, not mine," her father suddenly declared, his businessman persona sliding back into place, that he always knew she had potential, claiming he told her mother just last month, "Sarah, Olivia's smarter than she lets on." "Didn't I say that, dear?" Her mother nodded mechanically, still staring at Olivia as if seeing her for the first time. Olivia firmly stated, "You most certainly did not. You've never believed in my computer thing. You've dismissed my career at every turn." He protested that it wasn't true, saying they were just concerned. Olivia interrupted, firmly stating, "You weren't concerned. You were embarrassed. Embarrassed that I didn't fit your idea of success, that I wasn't like Beth." Beth stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. She angrily asked if Olivia had been laughing at her behind her back, thinking she was better because she had more money, while Beth had been feeling sorry for her, trying to include her and offering to help her. Olivia, feeling suddenly tired, replied, "No, Beth, I've never thought I was better than you. I just wanted to be valued for who I am, not what I own or earn." Beth shouted, "But you let us pity you." Olivia corrected her, "You chose to pity me. I never asked for it." Mark reached for Beth's hand, suggesting they should, but she yanked her hand away, asking if he knew about this, and if that's why he asked about the jet. Mark calmly stated that he genuinely thought he recognized Olivia in St. Bart's, explaining that he followed tech startups as part of his job and SecureFlow had been on their radar for potential investment opportunities. He simply hadn't made the connection until tonight. Beth's voice cracked, "So everyone knows about my sister's amazing success except her own family. How humiliating." With that, she stormed out of the dining room. A moment later, they heard a door slam upstairs. Her mother looked torn between following her younger daughter and continuing this revelation with Olivia. Her mother asked, "Olivia, I don't understand. Why would you hide this from us?" Olivia sighed deeply. She explained that she knew that once they found out about the money, it would be the only thing they'd see, not her work, not the technology they'd created, not the problems they were solving, just the dollars. Her father, ever the pragmatist, seemed to be recalculating rapidly. He began, "Well, what's done is done. We should talk about your financial planning. Have you considered—" Olivia cut him off. "Dad, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Nothing has changed about me in the last 5 minutes except your perception of my bank account." Mark, who had been watching this family drama unfold with remarkable composure, finally spoke. He told Mr. Miller that he thought what Olivia was trying to say was that she valued being appreciated for her ideas and character rather than her financial status. Olivia gratefully said, "Exactly," for his unexpected support. Her father looked bewildered, as if Mark's translation had rendered her point in a language he could finally understand. He insisted, "But success should be celebrated. We would have been proud." Olivia challenged him, "Would you? Because I told you 3 years ago that I had developed a new algorithm that could revolutionize supply chain security, and you changed the subject to Beth's new PR job." Her mother at least had the grace to look embarrassed. She said they didn't understand what Olivia was talking about. Olivia quietly responded, "You never tried to. That's the point." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Mark looked at Olivia with what seemed like genuine respect, while her parents exchanged glances that communicated decades of shared thoughts. Olivia finally said she thought she should go, placing her napkin on the table and standing. Her mother began, "Olivia, please," but Olivia shook her head. She clarified, "I'm not saying goodbye forever, Mom. I'm just saying I need some space to process, and I think you all do too." She gathered her purse and stood. She formally thanked them for dinner and for listening, eventually. As she walked toward the door, Mark spoke up again. He told Olivia he meant what he said about her company, calling it impressive work. He offered to arrange a discussion if she were ever interested in exploring potential synergies with some of their portfolio companies. Olivia turned back with a small smile. "Thank you, Mark. I'll consider it." With that, she walked out of her parents' house, feeling somehow both heavier and lighter than when she arrived. The truth was finally out, for better or worse. What happened next was up to all of them. 1 week later, Olivia was sitting in her modest Brooklyn apartment, which, to be fair, was a beautiful pre-war two-bedroom with original hardwood floors and a small terrace overlooking a tree-lined street. She had never felt the need to apologize for loving the space, despite her family's constant suggestions that she should upgrade to a Manhattan penthouse or a sprawling estate in the suburbs. She was reviewing quarterly projections for their Asia-Pacific expansion when her doorbell rang. Expecting the delivery she ordered for dinner, she was surprised to find Mark Harrington standing in her hallway alone. Olivia, unable to hide her surprise, asked, "Mark, is everything okay? Is Beth with you?" He shook his head, saying Beth was at a dress fitting with her mother, and he had told them he had a business meeting in the city. Olivia raised an eyebrow, but stepped aside to let him in. He admitted it sounded suspiciously like a white lie, looking around her apartment with genuine interest rather than the judgment she was accustomed to from her family. He stated he wanted to talk to her privately. Olivia gestured toward her living room, where floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined one wall, filled with a mix of technical volumes, classic literature, and her prized first editions. Large windows bathed the space in natural light, highlighting the comfortable but quality furniture and the absence of ostentatious displays of wealth. Mark commented, "Nice place," and Olivia could tell he genuinely meant it. He added, "It suits you." Olivia replied, "Thank you," genuinely appreciative of his ability to see beyond square footage and zip code. She offered him something to drink. He requested coffee, and as Olivia prepared 2 cups in her kitchen, Mark continued to observe her home. He called out that she had an impressive book collection. Olivia admitted, "Books have always been my weakness. I'd rather spend on a rare first edition than a designer handbag any day." Mark accepted the cup with a nod of thanks. He then stated, "So, I imagine you're wondering why I'm here." Olivia said with a small smile that the thought had crossed her mind. He took a sip of coffee before continuing. He explained that things had been tense since last week's dinner, with Beth cycling between anger, embarrassment, and a weird kind of competitive jealousy. He noted that her parents called multiple times a day asking questions about her company that they could easily Google. Olivia apologized for him being caught in the middle of this family drama. He firmly told her not to be sorry, adding, "Actually, it's been enlightening. I've learned more about the family I'm marrying into from this one incident than in the previous 6 months of dating Beth." Olivia wasn't sure how to respond, so she waited for him to continue. Mark leaned forward slightly, stating, "The thing is, I admire what you've built. Not just the company, but your approach to success. It's refreshing to meet someone who isn't trying to signal their worth through conspicuous consumption." Olivia admitted, "That's not a perspective I'm used to hearing from my family circle." He acknowledged this, saying he was starting to realize that Beth and he might have some fundamental differences in how we view wealth and status. Olivia carefully said she wasn't sure she was the right person to discuss relationship concerns about her sister. He acknowledged this was fair enough, but added he wasn't there just for that. He wanted to apologize for inadvertently exposing her secret at dinner, stating it wasn't his place. Olivia, after a moment's consideration, replied, "Actually, I should thank you. It was bound to come out eventually, and at least this way, it happened all at once rather than through a slow drip of revelations and denials." He agreed it created quite the family earthquake. Olivia mused, "Some structures need to be shaken to reveal their weaknesses. Maybe it's better in the long run." Her phone rang, a video call from their Singapore office. Olivia apologized, explaining she needed to take it as it was an important client. Mark gestured for her to go ahead. Olivia answered the call, speaking with the client about implementation timelines and security protocols. It was a complex conversation requiring her full attention and expertise. When she finished, she realized Mark had been watching with newfound respect. He commented, "You're really good at what you do, the way you explain those technical concepts so clearly." I've sat through hundreds of meetings with tech executives who couldn't articulate their value proposition half as well. Olivia thanked him, somewhat embarrassed by his praise, adding that it helped that she had built the system from the ground up. He then suddenly asked if Beth really understood what she did. Olivia sighed, saying she's never tried to. None of them have. Mark confirmed that was changing, adding, "Believe it or not. Your father has been researching blockchain technology obsessively. Your mother asked me if I thought you might be willing to speak at her women's business luncheon next month. They're trying in their way." He hesitated when speaking about Beth, saying she was struggling the most with this shift, explaining that Beth had always defined herself in comparison to you. First as the successful sister compared to your struggling career, and now she's not sure where she stands. Olivia softly said, "I never wanted it to be a competition." He nodded, saying, "I know that now. But family dynamics are complicated." He then mentioned that they wanted to have another dinner next week, all of them. Olivia felt anxiety rising at the thought, stating she wasn't sure that was a good idea so soon. He agreed, but added, "But healing has to start somewhere, doesn't it?" Her doorbell rang again, this time actually the dinner delivery she was expecting. After she paid the delivery person and set the food aside, Mark stood to leave. He said he should get back before they wondered where he'd been. At the door, he paused. He told Olivia, "When I first heard about Beth's computer nerd sister, I wasn't expecting someone who would challenge my perception of success and authenticity. It's been eye-opening in a good way." Olivia asked if he hoped so, and he confirmed, "Definitely." He then added, "And for what it's worth, I think your family will come around eventually. They just need time to adjust their entire worldview." He smiled. Olivia said with a small laugh that was asking a lot. He replied, "True growth usually is. But I think you've started something important, not just with your company, but with your family. Sometimes the hardest algorithms to debug are the ones running our relationships." After Mark left, Olivia sat on her terrace with her coffee, watching the Brooklyn sunset. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. It read, "Thinking of you, sweetheart. Proud of all you've accomplished. Would love to hear more when you're ready." It was a small step, awkward, and probably prompted by Mark's influence, but it was something. For the first time in years, Olivia felt like her family might eventually see her, the real her, not the version of her they had constructed in their minds. The next morning, Olivia boarded her company's jet for a trip to their London office. As they reached cruising altitude, she looked out the window at the patchwork of cities and countryside below, feeling a sense of perspective that extended beyond the physical landscape. Success wasn't measured by the car you drove or the address on your mail. It wasn't about impressing others or conforming to their expectations. True success came from living authentically, pursuing work that mattered to you, and maintaining the courage to be yourself, even when it was easier to play the role others had assigned you. As her jet crossed the Atlantic, Olivia realized she was finally free from the need for her family's validation. Whatever happened with their relationship going forward, whether they found a new equilibrium or maintained a respectful distance, she knew her worth wasn't determined by their perception of her. And perhaps that was the most valuable asset she had acquired on this journey.